Hello, welcome along to EPL Weekly, your weekly debrief of the English Premier League. Subscribe to this channel to make sure you never miss a stream. On this week's pod, we're going to take a look back through today's and yesterday's matches. It is Sunday, so we're going to look at Saturday's and Sunday's matches. Roz will give us his expert knowledge of the Fantasy Premier League. And also, if you're watching and have any suggestions, you can get in the live chat right now. There's already a few comments coming in now. We'll get to those in a bit. So thank you for contributing. Join the conversation and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Eplw Pod. Roz posts fantastic memes and general sort of good culture on there. So make sure you go. We've got 9 followers now, by the way, lads. We went from 8 to 9. I mean,
that's amazing.
That is.
I've got an audience.
That's a good 16% increase. Anyway. Alongside me today, Roz, Mus, and special guest and Manchester United fan, Matt. You can usually find Matt grinding on the DJ box in the R&B room at his local nightclub, but he's managed to join us. He's managed to give us a few minutes of his time today. Is he still there? Are you still there, Matt? Yeah, cool, right, okay. How are we doing, guys? Can you just sort of introduce yourselves one by one and tell our viewers one thing you cannot wait to talk about on this episode of EPLW? Roz, why don't you go first?
Hi, I'm Roz, Millwall season ticket holder, and we're looking forward to talking about. Let's go for Liverpool winning at Anfield.
Not Bielsa's Leeds winning at the Etihad, no. Shocks. I'm shocked, mate. Mus?
Joe, evening all. I'm Mus. I'm a Arsenal season ticket holder, and I'm really looking forward to talking about the West Ham game. And also the Spurs Man United game that's just finished up. Both were really exciting.
And special guest Matt, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. Yeah, I'm Matt. I'm a Man United fan for 34 odd years now, getting old. And I'm really keen to talk about the beautiful subject of VAR.
Oh, there'll be plenty of that, mate. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
So we'll get straight into it then. We'll start off with the Man United game. They've just beaten Spurs 3-1, making their unbeaten away record in the Premier League 23 games now, which is unbelievable. First time Mourinho's ever lost at home in the Premier League to Man United as well, which is quite a good stat. 3-1. I'm just looking at the TV behind the laptop now, and Scott McDominay is being interviewed, probably saying all sorts of lovely things about Ole. Matt, how did you find the game in terms of the goals and the tactics from United's point of view?
Yeah, so it's our usual away form, isn't it? Start by giving the opponents a head start at the goal and then wake up and come out and play some football in the second half. I mean, I don't think we were as bad first half as we had been in a lot of games. We didn't deserve to go behind, in my opinion. I thought it was a fairly even game in the fact that nobody was really doing anything. Then it sort of sparked into life around... It was probably around the Rashford-Lo Celso incident where Rashford went down like he'd been shot in the face, which was a bit pathetic, to be honest. But then, 2 minutes later, we get a goal chalked off for exactly the same thing that Lo Celso did to Rashford. And it's just it opens the door as to the consistency in refereeing. I think that's the big problem in today's game. But we'll come to that a bit later. I think in terms of United, the second half, we were sensational. Some of the passing and movement and the football. Paul Pogba, he's playing the best football of his career today, finally, after 3 years at United. We're seeing the best of him. And I think it's made us a completely different team when he's playing well.
It's interesting, isn't it? He's deploying Pogba in a front three now, which kind of taking the pressure off him a bit. And it kind of, Roz, you often hark back to France's World Cup win when we talk about Pogba and, him having less pressure actually makes him a much better player.
Well, it's, yeah, for sure. And Juventus days as well. I mean, everyone says, I can't believe this is the same player that sort of dragged France to that World Cup victory. Scoring, did he get 2 goals in the final? Certainly scored in the final. Sensational tournament. They forget the fact that he had N'Golo Kante as one of his midfield 3 and Blaise Matuidi as the other one, who was, absolute workhorse, sensational player. Juventus had, sitting deep, Pirlo, probably one of the best defensive midfielders or sort of deep lying sort of quarterback role players of all time. Someone that sort of has no ego and just happy to sit and do the work there. And then also had countless other midfielders, be it Marquisio or Sami Khedira, players like that around him to kind of do that dirty work. I think Pogba's best when he has as little defensive responsibility as possible. So actually is better in that kind of front three.
I mean, is that
what would say about? Sorry.
Is that what we're seeing? You know, we see this. You know that the movement for the assist for the third goal, that little shimmy was just beautiful, and that's the Pogba we want to see, isn't it? And do you think, Mus? Do you think he's going to be staying at United? Do you think he's going to be looking around him, thinking, actually, I might stay here? You know, I might not be jumping ship. You know, 6 months ago, you might have said, oh, he's gone. His head's gone. He's left United already. He's on the beach. But you know, what do you reckon, Mus? Do you reckon he's more likely to stay now?
Yeah, I think so. Not just because of you know, how he might feel about his future at United, and I think, yeah, justifiably you could look around and say, you know, we're building something here, and you know, we could potentially win trophies in the years to come. But also, I think increasingly it's becoming apparent that there aren't going to be that many big transfers, and there aren't that many buyers of players like Pogba in the market, and I think it might serve him to stay put. But just that second half, it got me thinking that the United attackers must all be Bob Marley fans, right? Because they are really dancing around with reggae on. But genuinely, like the way, you know, Pogba sent him for this. Or no, it was Fernandez who nutmegged him for the Cavani goal, and then that step over from Greenwood, I think, on the last goal. Poor Reguilon, he's had better games.
Yeah, exactly.
A quick word on Edison Cavani as well. I thought was absolutely sensational. Really shows what playing in that number 9 role he has that Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial, Mason Greenwood all have kind of flowed with that position. He has, and they don't, Rich's experience and his timing of his runs today was just second to none.
Yeah,
absolutely perfect. Yeah. Onside for all of them. Led to the Fred goal, the one that was chalked out, but I thought was really, really good today.
Yeah, Matt, something actually would be interesting to hear from a United fans' perspective. It's something we often talk about, is the fact that when Harry Maguire is playing for England, he looks like super classy on the ball, moving up the field. You know, he's got his pristine white shirt. When he's playing defending for United, he looks like some sort of asthmatic grasshopper trying to carry some heavy shopping.
I think
back in the mix today.
I'm actually a big fan of Harry Maguire. I think he's been harshly treated by the press. I think people pick out very individual, specific moments in games where he's made the best decision.
There just happens to be about 5 a game.
Mistakes, Matt. Mistakes.
But when you look at the mistakes, there's probably a chain of 4 or 5 mistakes that have led to his mistake, where he's kind of thinking, well, do I go and cover Luke Shaw? There's players running in behind me. The Gea is not going to come out. I think that having Henderson as number 1 has made a big difference to our defence, because the defenders can defend what's in front of them and not worry about what's going on in behind. But Henderson showed today 3 or 4 occasions. The ball goes over the top, he's going to come out and he's going to take charge. And I think that makes a big difference. And I think Harry Maguire's form since Henderson's been number 1, it's been sensational. Watching him week in and week out, watching him closely, he's been really, really good.
I agree with everything you say about Henderson, but Harry Maguire's the club captain. To sort of say that, oh, it's Luke's, you know, he's the one that should be organising that back line, surely.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's also the one that often finds himself ridiculously high up the pitch, then finds himself tracking back and sort of clumsily making a stupid tackle like he did last week against Danny Welbeck, which should have been a penalty. But it's a mistake a game, and say that, oh, the pundits just focus, oh, you would talk about that little moment. Even today, the moment with Harry Kane where he got his 5th yellow card of the season, totally needless, and a really stupid mistake from what should be a club captain of a club that is fighting for the title. You know, we should be talking about one of the best defenders in the world if that's his position, and for me, he's just not.
I think in this United team, his mistakes get highlighted more. I think every defender in the world makes mistakes, particularly in the current climate. There seems to just be a catalogue of errors defensively across all the leagues and all the teams. And I think just because Lindelof's so terrible and Shaw and Wan-Bissaka positionally kind of go wandering every now and then, Fred and McTominay, they're not really proper defensive midfielders. You have to play the 2 of them there to give the defence a proper defensive midfielder. I think that highlights the errors more.
So that's a really interesting point about defensive midfielders. I was going to say, in terms of transfers for Man United, I think it's a wasted man in terms of picking a first 11. The fact that we're talking about Pogba's position and the fact that he's having to find a place for him in that attacking midfield three rather than the back two midfield. You're having to play Fred and McTominay to just sit. I know Fred scored today. He found himself with a nosebleed in the opposition box. But we're talking about picking these players that have to sit. Rio Ferdinand and Amanda Fidget's never needed two holding midfielders.
No.
The great John Terry and Ricardo Carvalho never needed two great defensive midfielders, or even just players to sit.
Yeah, I mean,
Man.
Kolo Touré and Pascal Sigan, another great example. I just need to interrupt you there, guys. We've had some comments. We've had
they
some
didn't
comments.
need two, but they needed one. They always had one very good holding midfielder.
They had someone that would sit, yeah.
Yeah, a
That's
proper
a
one.
wasted man. By
The second one is a waste, yeah.
So
So for a while.
I'll tell you
why not
what.
get a better defender?
Let's
Well, that's the key, isn't it? You made a very good point, and it sort of leads me where I'm going. Is that you've got Ferdinand and Vidic, Terry and Carvalho, Adams and Bowles, partnerships.
Yeah.
We've got Maguire and Lindelof. You look at Lindelof today; he was at fault for the Spurs goal. Nearly conceded the second one as well. He's a bit of a liability, and I think him and Maguire, they're just too similar. They're both slow. They're both terrible at dealing with pace. Whereas where Maguire gives you dominance in the air and strength and wins duels, Lindelof doesn't give you that. So if you have like Eric Bailly, if he can stay fit for more than 5 games a season, you have Bailly and Maguire, and all of a sudden you've got a defensive partnership. It makes things a lot better for us.
Mus, did you want to add something quickly?
Go on.
Mus, did you want to add something quickly? We're going to move on to the next game. So it's a really great chat, but we've got a lot to cover. Mus.
Yeah, just the final point. I was going to move the conversation on to Spurs' defence and their goalkeeper, because I think the Spurs' defence are a bit like the border control at Dover, constantly making Lloris cross. And I just felt really sorry for Hugo today. The defence never really got to grips with Cavani's movement, and United probably could have had way more.
Love it.
Just the 3.
In the comments, we've got Dave saying, agreed, Hendo is better for Harry. Agreeing with you, Matt. Hendo sweeping up when the ball is played in behind, which reduces Harry's need for speed. De Gea stayed on the line too much. Also, Dave says, if VAR disallowed the goal as Scott's arm was in an unnatural position, should that have not led to a second yellow? Andrew is saying, United were on fire tonight. Pretty happy with our 4-1 win. I think that's, obviously a little sarcastic nod to the ref there. And Makoma says, wonderful piece of performance from our team. And Adrian says, Chelsea, simply. We will come on to Chelsea. We're going to talk about other teams as well. Don't worry. We're going to go through all the games from today, all the games from yesterday. Next up, we're going to go in reverse chronological order. So West Ham and Leicester City. And this, the tale of 2 of the most informed players in the Premier League right now, right? Lingard and Iheanacho. Mus, did you watch this game? Did you get a chance to see the goals? What do you think?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it. I love how for the last 3 games, West Ham have just decided to, that their MO should be, let's go 3-0 ahead and then try and hold on and see what happens. And it certainly makes for an exciting game. But they, on a more serious note, they start really quick. And Lingard's just in the form of his life. I guess we'll come on to Leicester, but I think maybe the big talking point after the game is what happened with James Maddison, Hamza Chowdhury, and Ayoze Perez. And I think that's just kind of really disappointing and unacceptable. And I think James Maddison would be really disappointed that he's been left out of this game for disciplinary reasons. And then to see one of his rivals for the England squad in Jesse Lingard just have another fantastic game, and he took that first goal. Maybe he didn't mean it, but just the way he was able to adapt and put it away was fantastic.
Very good point as well. And yeah, that Lingard, he's just on fire, isn't he, Ros?
Brilliant. I agree, sort of form of his life. He sort of showed it in sort of stints at Man United, and I think maybe obviously the sort of rotating managers didn't really help him. He's now back with the manager that kind of brought him through in David Moyes at Man United. But just having that kind of, I know Declan Rice wasn't playing today, but he's come into a team where everyone just knows their role.
Yeah.
And he can be as aggressive and creative as he wants to be.
It's almost like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's the manager know your role.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, they're talking of the Declan Rice thing. Mark Noble has been fantastic today and last week against Wolves. Last week against Wolves, I saw these stats come up on the screen during the game today, saying about how he was number one in interceptions, 90% passing, all this stuff. Like he was one of the best players on the pitch. Interesting one today, Matt. Jared Bowen got man of the match. I mean, are we all just getting a bit too like happy about Lingard? And firstly, I want to ask you: did you see the game, Matt? Were you able to watch that one?
I saw the highlights of the game, yes. I also went much today, but it's kind of win-win for me as a United fan with Lingard, isn't it? You know, he's in the form of his life, so he's either going to come back to us with a fresh lease of life, hopefully, or his values skyrocketing while he's at West Ham performing like this. So we're in a no-lose situation. Part of me does think there's this element of it's kind of this medium fish, medium pond. No disrespect to West Ham, but they're not Man United. And, you know, I've always thought Lingard has been a good player and a useful squad player, but never quite that Man United starting 11 level player. Whereas at a club like West Ham, he can express himself, as Roz says. He's got the players around him that allow him to express himself, and he's showing the talent he's got. And he's obviously a good player, you know. I think under Mourinho, he had a rich vein of form for a season. And I'm just pleased for him. You know, he always gave 110% for United, always left it all on the pitch. So, you know, you can't be anything but happy for a player like that. And, you know, he moonwalked to the Emirates as well. So, you know.
His celebrations are great, aren't they? Go on, Paul.
And I was just to say for Van Gaal as well. He had stints for Mourinho. He had stints for Van Gaal. He scored the winner in the FA Cup final against Crystal Palace. He's always, to coin a cliche, had it in his locker. But you know, it's getting that consistency. I'd still, just to move it really quickly onto England, be slightly hesitant to take players like Lingard and even start players like Luke Shaw, just because the players that they're taking the place of are players that have been good for 4 years consistently, and these are players who are in a very rich vein of form, but have also shown us that they can kind of bottle it on the day. But he certainly helped his case today to get into that 23-man squad. Jesse.
Absolutely, and we'll come on to Leicester quickly. So, Mus, as you mentioned before, 3 players for Leicester were dropped for today's game because of a COVID-19 breach. That's the official line. Maddison, Hamza Chowdhury, and Ayos Perez. Mus, have you got any inside knowledge on that? Can you give us a little? Can you give us the truth? Have you delved into Twitter?
Yeah, I was there on the No, just kidding. No, I've just read what you've read, Joe, which was, there was a party last weekend and they were dropped from the matchday squad. I mean, Harvey Barnes was injured anyway, but Jose Perez has started the last couple of games, and you'd have thought Maddison would have also gone straight in. At this stage of the season, that's just inexcusable. Like, they should all know their responsibilities and what the rules are.
Yeah, I mean, is it also convenient that they've got the FA Cup semi-final next week and just sort of is managing to rest James Maddison?
I just think it's a huge inconvenience, because I think this could potentially cost them their Champions League place. It was not the game to rest players. I don't think it would have been the tactical decision that he would have made.
Yeah, fair. Okay, look, we're going to move on, guys. And earlier on today, Newcastle pulled off potentially the shock of the weekend in my eyes. I say it every week, Newcastle are going down. It's like someone's tied a brick to their ankle. Like, they are just dropping. They're going down. That's obviously a slightly bad imagery. Sorry, lads. But Burnley 1-0 up, looking to be all right. Steve Bruce, yeah. Oh no, I'm getting down. But yeah, saved it. And basically, yeah, Burnley 1-0 up, cruising, and it was the tale of the substitution, wasn't it? Alan Saint-Maximin and Callum Wilson coming on, but Saint-Maximin just doing what he does, and he has been an absolute lifeline for them, hasn't he? Newcastle ran out 2-1 winners. Roz, what did you make of this one?
I think it'll be made a big deal out of, and I think it could actually lead to more complacency. I think if you look at the fixtures left, I think Fulham have actually played reasonably well in all the games they've been unlucky enough to not pick up points in. if you look at the games in hand, they had 2 games in hand. One of them was today. They got the victory, well done Newcastle. The other one's Liverpool. So, and they've also got Fulham on the last day. So actually, Fulham only need to better their results in one game week in the remaining 7, 8, 7, I think left, and then beat them on the final day. So they're still in the thick of it. They're. I was surprised actually because Burnley aren't. It's very unlikely Burnley will go down, but I thought they would have had a bit more fight about them today because I think they're only on 34 points still and could, feasibly go down.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of comments quickly. Adam says, credit to the Moyes, getting West Ham into the top 4 is no small feat. It hasn't happened yet, Adam. It hasn't happened yet. Remember, you can get in the comments as well, have a chat, let us know what you think. Andrew says, I'll be very disappointed if they don't pick both Shaw and Lingard just because they're the form players. We will always wonder what they could have done for us if they're not about. By they, I think he must mean talking about the England selection that we were mentioning earlier. Dave also says, how good is Saint Maximin? Could he cut it at a top 4 club? That's almost like telepathic there, Dave. You sort of read my thoughts because I was literally about to ask that question to Matt. Matt, Saint Maximin, right? Here's the scenario. Newcastle go down, or I mean, they might not need to go down for this to happen, but in the summer, Saint Maximin's up for sale. Who's going to buy him? Where would he fit in?
A mid-table club at best, I think. I don't think he's showing enough end product. He's got great trickery, great pace. He can produce a moment of magic, but how often does he do it? How often do we talk about, Sam Maximin was brilliant today?
But he's been injured for most of it.
I get that, but he's not been around just this season. He was last season as well. And, I haven't seen enough of him to think he's a top player. He's got talent, but he's not a top club player. He's a mid-table player. He's another Adama Traore. Bags of pace, bags of trickery, doesn't really produce enough with the final ball or the finish.
So maybe not starting for a top side, but surely he's every bit as good as a Louis Nani.
Yeah, a bit of extract off the bench. I could see that for sure, potentially.
I could see him at like a Spurs. Do you know what I mean? Bring him on for the last 20 minutes instead of Son or Mora. He could rotate in there.
Yeah. But Joe, you said, could you see him at a top side? He could
yeah, exactly.
Spurs,
yeah.
Easy.
Whoops. My bad.
But you know what he does that not many players do these days is actually run at people. And I know Matt sort of said earlier about defensive mistakes. Players are trying to sort of play it out the back a lot more. It's more and more teams' kind of philosophy. Players have never liked, and they still don't like, just players running at them and exposing them. And that is what Sam Maximin does.
Yeah.
A lot in the Premier League.
Interesting. On the other side of things, there's been a few noises being made about Sean Dyche now as well, and could he be useful at another club? Could you imagine him, doing a press conference down at Cobham in the Chelsea press room, or could you see him? Could you see him at another club in the league?
I think if Burnley let him go, that's criminal. To be quite honest, it's similar with Sheffield United and Chris Wilder. But they can't let a manager that's done what he's achieved for that club go. It's as simple as that. If they do, they deserve to go down, frankly.
And they probably would, wouldn't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be a massive change of character whoever went in there. But anyway, okay, let's move on to our next game, and we're going to go to Saturday now, to yesterday's games. Crystal Palace 1, Chelsea 4. Havertz on fire early on, goal and an assist inside 10 minutes. Pulisic 2 goals. Benteke with something of a consolation really at 3-0. And then Pulisic finished it off 78th minute, 4-1 Chelsea. And this kind of does. We were talking yesterday, lads, about the that battle for the third and fourth positions in the league, and there are effectively 6 clubs in that battle. Chelsea and Liverpool have both got wins. Leicester lose. West Ham getting the win as well. They've all been sort of playing each other around that area, haven't they? What does this do for Chelsea? Does this mean they are top 4 now, Mus?
I think still too close to call. I think Chelsea still have Man City to come. I think Liverpool still have to face Man United. So I think, it's still too close to call. But a lot was made of the fact that this was the first game under Tuchel where Chelsea won by more than a 2-goal margin, and I wonder if that actually was kind of playing on his mind, because one thing that they have done is put a bit of breathing room between themselves and Liverpool in terms of goal difference. And I didn't expect it to be such an easy outing for Chelsea, but then when I saw the highlights of the game, probably even more than Man City and more than any other team in the league, they just have a ridiculous array of attacking midfield talent.
Yeah.
If you just had it and I'm sure watching the highlights, I don't always take note of when the substitutions happen, but 1 minute they've got Mason Mount and Pulisic and Havertz and Jorginho and Kovacic, and then next second, oh look, there's Ziyech, and they brought on a couple more, and it's ridiculous. And when they click, they're a strong force.
Yeah, absolutely. Ros, anything to add? I know you love Crystal Palace. What's it mean for Crystal Palace? This defeat. Damn it! That was meant to make you angry, not laugh.
I think I'm saying it's the first time that Chelsea have won by more than 2 goals. How many times did Jose's Chelsea win more than by 2 goals? Tuchel's he likes to control games. It's attractive to watch, but it's very much kind of dominant. And even if Chelsea are 1-0 up, it very rarely feels like Tuchel's Chelsea are gonna kind of drop those points. They went at them right from the start. You talk about attacking talent. It's an absolute travesty that Budweiser's king of the match was Christian Pulisic. I know he got 2 goals, but Kai Havertz today was the best he's played. Yesterday was the best he's ever played in Chelsea shirt. Absolutely sensational. Taking the piss at times, just kicking it over defenders, having shots, just sensational to watch. Mason Mount, everything goes through Mason Mount. For anyone that's still in doubt about whether Mason Mount is a top player, yesterday he absolutely ran the game. Everything good that Chelsea did went through him. He's a real talent.
Sorry, I mean, I was playing Sunday League football this morning, and just when you said everything goes through Mount, I was just imagining the manager's team. So everything goes through to 19, lads. I want you tight on him, kick him up in the air. All right, get on him. Do you reckon that's what Roy Hodgson was saying in the dressing room to to the likes of Gyro, Riyad Val?
Always too nice for that.
Yeah.
Gyro, get on Mounty, Gyro.
In the interviews, Roy Hodgson's constant gentleman. I reckon he's like a proper East End gangster in the actual the actual dressing room. Right, you fucking do that. Oh, bring it back. Bring your dinner. She's gonna need it.
Love it. Andrew says in the comments, I can see Saint Maximin at a mid-table club like Arsenal. It's going to take more than that to trigger me, mate. Dave says, can Tuchel derail City's quadruple? Very interesting question there. What do we reckon to that, Matt?
So I think Chelsea are odds on for top 4, to be perfectly honest. I think Leicester or West Ham will drop out. If not, maybe both of them, because Liverpool are finding a bit of form as well. That's a subject for another day potentially. But yeah, I think Chelsea are playing well. Man City have had a little bit of a wobble. They've got to try and sew up the league now. They've dropped those points. They've got the Champions League to think about. They've got the League Cup final. A lot of balls to try and juggle at once. And I think if anyone can do it, it's City with that squad. But yeah, Tuchel's done a good job since he's come in, and Chelsea are dangerous.
If you're a Man City fan and I said to you, you can have the Champions League or the Premier League, right now you can only have one of them, which one would you take?
If you're a City fan, I think you take the Champions League now.
So will that be playing on Guardiola's mind, do you reckon, Ros? Was that the sort of thing that might be playing on his mind?
Potentially. Although they could win both, and I think they'll wrap up the league before they can use that as an excuse for not winning the Champions League. I think they had a great chance last season to win the Champions League. They went out to Lyon. That was, of course, when it was only one leg due to COVID regulations, and they might have gone through if it was a 2-legged game. Had a brilliant chance to win the Champions League last season, and I think this season again have as good a chance as they'll get with the teams remaining and the current squad and form that they're in.
Yeah.
But they'll wrap up the league before they can start. They've won it. That's not.
Yeah.
totally agree.
They won't win the league. I'd say that Man United might win the league. Put it like that. That's not happening.
So Adam in the comments says he thinks PSG will be the team to watch in the Champions League. But this is a Premier League show, so we're going to keep it Premier League, lads. And we're going to keep it moving. I think that's enough on Palace Chelsea. Let's talk then about Liverpool Aston Villa. Similar tactics to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, concede one early and then try and claw it back, wake up in the second half, score a belter. And just as we're all slagging off Trent Alexander-Arnold, he goes and scores that goal. 2-1 to Liverpool it finished. Salah and Alexander-Arnold on target. Ollie Watkins with a tidy goal. Well, not very tidy if you're Alisson, but it was a decent finish. Mus, did you catch this one?
Yes. I think still too many individual errors for what Jurgen Klopp's liking. I imagine you mentioned the Alisson mistake. I think Kabak as well was caught out a couple of times. So those aren't particularly reassuring ahead of the Madrid game, especially given how well Real Madrid did in the Clásico on Saturday night. But they showed a bit of grit. They I like the fact that the last two goals Salah scored for Liverpool, I like the kind of classic centre forwards following up play. So I often think that the way the front three have traditionally played is kind of, I think defenders are used to it now and they force them to play in front of them and they don't give them space in behind. And sometimes you just need someone to just react and knock one in off of deflection or, something that spills from the keeper. So that was good. And then a bit of class at the end from Trent Alexander-Arnold. And that's what he's capable of. And I think that's why he should be in the squad, if not a starter, but definitely should be.
In terms of for England on the plane?
Yes.
Yeah? Well, that's another discussion for another time. In fact, if you haven't seen it already, head to the channel and on there you'll find our England squad selection show, which was quite interesting. And that was one of the bones of contention in the show, was the right back situation, the fact that we've got a good wealth of talent there. Ros, anything you wanted to add on the Liverpool Villa game?
Just one thing, which was how good was Jamie Carragher's commentary for the goal. Had a big rift on Monday Night Football with Gary Neville talking about all of Trent's weaknesses. I think Gary Neville actually did include him in his England squad, but Carragher ripped him for ripping. Ripping Trent Alexander-Arnold, and as soon as the goal went in, he just went gloriously, "Are you watching Gary Neville?"
Ever the competitor. He's brilliant.
What a soundbite.
Great value. Okay, one more game to look at then. But before that, Ros, do you want to talk us through sort of fantasy Premier League performers of the game week so far and players to look out for in tonight's Arsenal-Sheffield United game and tomorrow's Monday night games?
Yeah, why not? So let's start where we just left off with Trent Alexander-Arnold. He got 11 points with that goal. Would be the highest scoring defender if it wasn't for Stuart Dallas getting 2 goals against City.
Which
although,
we'll come
to
on
be fair,
to.
he is listed as a defender and doesn't play there. He's a bit like Lundstrom from last season. He's sort of listed as the one position, so he's going to get you more points than perhaps he's worth. Christian Pulisic for those 2 goals got 15 points, 3 bonus points, which, as I said earlier, is not justified because Mason Mount only got 1. But Kai Havertz with 10, Iheanacho 2 late goals against West Ham with 10. And let's finish with Jesse Lingard with 12 goals and a sensational finish for that first goal.
12 goals?
12 goals and sensational points, yeah.
Yeah, Lingard.
As for tonight, who knows? It's Arsenal, isn't it? I'd say perhaps Lacazette could get some joy tonight. Seems to be the preference up front these days. But also, it's Arsenal defending, so let's go for
absolutely. I've got the game on right now, and it's looking pretty open, to be honest with you. So it might be quite a good game. We'll have to wrap up quite soon because it's worth a watch, lads.
Nice.
On Arsenal quickly. Dave's in the comments. He's saying if Arsenal don't qualify in the Europa League on Thursday, is that it for Mikel Arteta?
No, I think they'll give him time.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Ross?
think the players are the problem. I think he's trying to fit square bricks in triangle holes, whatever the phrase is. You know,
Square pegs into round holes.
there we go.
There we go.
No, he's sort of getting all these players that aren't necessarily that used to playing out the back. He's playing Granit Xhaka every week. Could get a much better player there and a much more reliable, less hot-headed sort of reactionary player that maybe some Arsenal fans actually like. Yeah, and Aubameyang to me seems a bit toxic since he signed that contract. Isn't really pulling his weight. I don't think Arteta's the problem necessarily, but whether they see it like that, the Arsenal board, is another question.
Yeah.
A young
Mus?
core of players as well who I think he can build from. You know, if they can sign Odegaard as well on a permanent basis,
Yeah.
they've got a really nice young nucleus that will develop over the next 2 or 3 seasons.
Exactly. Yeah. Mus, have you got anything to add on that?
I completely agree. I think they'll give Arteta another transfer window to try and see out his vision. So yeah, I think it's still too soon to call it a day on that experiment.
Well, there you go, Dave. Thanks for your question. So we're going to quickly talk about Man City Leeds, presumably two of your favourite clubs.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you want both teams to lose.
Yeah.
There must be a rule we can invent for that to happen. But,
Yeah.
it was a brilliant game of football. Leeds, the Bielsa way of playing, they will never back down from anyone, no matter what. And they were rewarded for their bravery. I mean, fair play. So,
Sorry to laugh. Like Roz is, I don't know if you know how much of a Bielsa fan Roz is, but he's not at all a Bielsa fan, and he was just literally falling asleep as you were talking about Leeds. But Matt, sorry, please continue.
Yeah, well, I think, Guardiola obviously rested a few players with the Champions League in mind. He needs to be careful doing that because he can unsettle the team that did playing well on a great run of form. I think one thing they have realised is that the 50 million they spent on Benjamin Mendy was a total waste of money. So I don't think we'll see him in a Man City shirt next season. There's probably a couple of others they'll sell to try and make way for Haaland or Sancho or Messi even, potentially. But, they're playing a different game to the rest of the league, aren't they, with those funds they've got available.
Yeah, the sort of the endless pot of money that they have available, it's a bit unfair. Roz, did you watch this one?
No, I watched Millwall, mate. Much more.
Okay, Mus, did you catch this game?
I did, and I'm going to try and talk about this game without mentioning the fact that I absolutely called it right on the preview show. But
you just failed. You just did it instantly.
That's what you call a humble brag. But yeah, I mean, going back to David's question about will Tuchel derail the quadruple, I think if anything, kind of Guardiola overthinking it might derail the quadruple, because I thought Leeds had a chance in this game because Guardiola was always going to change the starting 11 around, and I think against Leeds that's always a risk. What I didn't expect was that with 10 men, Leeds would defend so resolutely, something that's they've often been criticised about, and continue to attack so so kind of creatively. And to be honest, they should have had more than that. Like how many Rafinha threw in goal a few times and cynically sized down, or didn't quite manage to go around Edison. So they were well worth the win.
Yeah, and it was a real kind of, Roz, you were talking on the preview show yesterday about the kind of, the master versus apprentice, the relationship between Bielsa and Guardiola, and the tactical kind of passion, the attacking mentality, the way that they do things, and the way that, Bielsa is highly regarded by Guardiola. And I just wanted to ask you really, you must have watched the highlights at least, because there was some fantastic football on display, and you surely have to admit that. I know you don't like Bielsa. I know you're not the biggest fan of Guardiola, but they provide enough entertainment, right?
My hatred of Bielsa is nothing to do with him as a person, apart from his questionable comments about racist players. That aside, about sort of brand of football he plays, fine, if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. My hatred of it is the fact that the press go on and on and on about it, and actually commend the fact that they'll lose so heavily to a Man United, and say, actually, didn't they do well to play really naively against one of the best teams in the country?
They were brave. It was a really brave performance. It was brave.
It wasn't brave.
They went to Old Trafford and threw everything at it.
Piss off. Chris Boyd, just to Chris Boyd, man after my own heart, recently on Punditry, he pointed out the fact that Leeds spent, as I've been saying all season, Leeds have spent 100 million coming up. They should be staying up. They're not underdogs. They've spent a hell of a lot of money. They've also got one of the best managers, almost highly regarded managers in the world. They're not underdogs. They're where they should be. They're mid-table. Chris Wilder last season for Sheffield United spent about 40 million less and was competing for Europe. I don't remember. Yes, Chris Wilder and Sheffield United got plaudits. They were praised. They didn't get anywhere near the amount of attention as Bielsa's got. It's just an unfair thing. It's totally blown out of the water.
But it's, you know, Bielsa's CV is 10 times Chris Wilder's CV, isn't it not?
Is it? Sorry, like 2 days at Marseille, was it? Played for, managed Bilbao, managed Argentina and Chile. What did he do? How many trophies he won?
More than Chris Wilder.
Yeah, fine. Chris Wilder took a team from League One to fighting for Europe in the Premier League on a very small budget.
Yeah, still not a trophy though, is it? And I think he has one.
Same with Bielsa. Bielsa's had the best players in the world playing under him. You know, he's managed some of the best players in the world and been able to spend all this money at top clubs and still hasn't won a trophy. Chris Wilder was managing a team in League One. You know, context.
I don't know. I think
Right.
Bielsa's always managed teams that could be considered underdogs. You know, I don't think Atletico Bilbao are your traditional powerhouses in Spanish football, and likewise in France, and you know, and taking Chile to the second round or the quarterfinal of the World Cup, playing very attractive football. You know, I think there's a reason why he's widely admired. But to move us on, Joe, because I can see your face.
No, I'm just loving it. I'm just watching Roz, like I'm seeing the steam building up. It's going to pop in a minute.
I was just going to pick up on Matt's point about Benjamin Mendy and not seeing the best out of him and how he's probably going to be shown the door. And I agree. I think he's a bit like Mangala, but with funnier tweets.
Brilliant.
He
Okay.
played, I mean, just again to put the result into context, he played Zinchenko as well as Mendy. They played two left backs that aren't really that highly regarded by Man City there.
I mean, Zinchenko's only
Everyone
the
making
captain
it-
of his country. No, he's just not highly regarded. It's just...
What's that?
Zinchenko's a captain of his country, mate.
Yeah, what's his country?
That's disgraceful. Ukraine.
But I just can't believe we're actually talking about derailing of the quadruple based on the league. I've just looked at the table. They're 11 points.
Not based on the league. No, but I think it was more of a general question in terms of, you know, all of the trophies.
This result means nothing.
Well,
and next weekend they
It means
do again.
nothing. Leeds are mid-table. They're staying up anyway. Man City means nothing. They're playing a second string squad to rest players for Europe. It means nothing. Stop talking about it.
I think you'll find, Roz, that if United win their game in hand, I think the gap is 8 points with 6 games to go.
Yeah, and then Captain Maguire is going to gloriously lead his well-organised team, and City are going to drop all those points, and also Man United are going to win every game that's available to them this season.
Well, look, lads, it remains to be seen. Look, we're just gonna say goodbye to our viewers on YouTube. I want you lot to stay here because we've got unfinished business. Thanks for watching, guys. You can follow us on Twitter. Be sure to follow us. We're on 9 followers. We want to get to that magical milestone of 10 at Eplw Pod. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss a stream. It's been great to have you along, Matt. Thanks for joining us. And as always, thanks to Roz and Mus as well. We'll be back next Saturday for the preview show. And Matt, hopefully we can have you back as well. We'll talk contracts and all that after we've said goodbye to the viewers. All right, stick around.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just get my Bielsa mural painted on the wall behind me.
Brilliant. Right. Okay. Yeah. Until next time, chaps. Thanks for watching. See you later.
You guys.